What's up, guys? So, the number one question, what do you think the number one question I get on this channel is? What air gun should I buy? It's like a loaded question, and a lot of the times it's not that I don't want to help, it's one of those I need a lot of information, and it's pretty intense when you look at the details. A lot of times people ask me, hey, what about this gun versus this gun? And I'm leaning, I want to say something, I'm like, don't say anything. You don't know the whole story. And then all of a sudden he'll reply back, yeah, I don't have an air tank, or I don't have this. And it's like, yep, I didn't know that about the whole situation of suggesting this air gun over that air gun. But it even goes further. If you're looking at some of the big air gun outlets, Air Guns of Arizona, Utah Air Guns, Pyramid Air, and you talk to a rep, they don't have enough time. I know they're going to try to be helpful, but a lot of times they try to rush you. They might be working on commission. There's a lot of things going on, and it's just difficult. So this is one of the things you're just going to have to do your own due diligence, and kind of sort through all the decision making. And believe me, man, there's myself included. I'm looking at a rifle, and all of a sudden I see like an Airgun Leshy pop over to the left, and it looks really cool. And I'm like, oh man! And then you start looking, and you're like, that's not even a gun that wouldn't even fit my need. And so the first thing, there's three parts that I want to kind of suggest that you kind of walk yourself through. And first one is know thyself. Like, know who you are, what kind of person you are. I know that's kind of difficult, but there's some big questions you can ask. A, your budget. B, what you're going to do with the rifle, because that's more than likely the sales rep's going to ask you. And then the other question he's not probably going to ask you is, what kind of person are you? And I'll break it down into a simple comparison is, are you an individual that has a car that drives around and comes right back and washes it or polishes it, and it's always clean? It's always clean, and you just take care of it, and you love it, and that's the thing. That's your thing, is to make sure everything is spotless and works great. And then the other type of person, kind of like me, are you the kind of person who drives your car around and the way it gets washed is it actually rains? That's my car's washed now, right? So maintenance, what kind of personality do you have, temperament to do the due diligence? Myself, I just want to take a rifle out, use it, wipe it down real quick, and be done. I hate cleaning the barrels. It's just a pain. Some guys enjoy that kind of stuff. Some guys will go through the rifle, oil it down and everything. But just know, because that's going to speak a lot of volume to your decision making later on with the third phase, because there's three steps. The second phase, obviously, is once you kind of get your budget, you know what you're going to do. Generally speaking, your first rifle is a generic rifle, just something that does everything. And then as you pick up air guns, they fit into specializations, like maybe a long distance, or maybe something has an extreme shot count and super accurate or low power. But just know, you're going to hit a point where decision making, and you start narrowing it down, you're going to see competing guns, and you're just like, I don't know which one to buy. And so the second step is like what you were doing in grade school. They teach you, create a list of pros and cons. Like, what's the rifle good at, and what's it bad at? And compare it. How many pros does this rifle have versus this one? How many cons does this one have versus this one? Obviously, that's grade school stuff. But a lot of times, believe it or not, I'd have a dead heat. Just there's five things that are positive and two things that are negative on both of them. I still don't know which rifle to buy. And then that's kind of the reason why I get asked questions, right? Because they want a confirmation, or they just want someone to throw their word in to sway them one way or the other. The last one, and this is the most detailed, is a huge list. Now, I've kind of compiled a big list, like 30 questions that I go through. And when I have 2 or 3 air rifles, I'll break it down on weighted averages, meaning I'll scale each attribute a 1 to 10. And for instance, if I'm looking at a rifle and I say, well, shot count's kind of important, just say one of those things, I'll score each one like, well, the Day State has this shot count, this gun has this shot count. Well, that one's a 9 and that one's like an 8, the difference. And what I do with all that is I ask a series of questions that are important to what I'm trying to do, and I sum it up at the end, and whatever has the highest score, that kind of makes me, or leads me into purchasing that rifle over another one. So here we go. I'm going to run you through a scenario, an example. 2 guns, FX Panther versus Day State Delta Wolf, right? And Under the conditions, I'm looking for the first phase is to look at a generic rifle. Like, what's the best all-around rifle? So I'll go through some of the questions, put it up on the screen. This is some of the things I ask myself, what's the weight of the gun? How big is the gun? What's the shot count? What's the supporting equipment do I need when I take it out? Do I need a lot of air tanks and everything else? Does it shoot slugs and pellets equally as well? And how does that, on a scale of 1 to 10, how does that actually filter in? As I mentioned, size of the rifle, length of the rifle, what's the warranty? How do I feel about the durability of it? Is it regulated? Is it in the caliber that I actually want, or do I have to make a compromise there? FPE power, is it in the power range that I'm looking for? The modular design, does it have a modular design? Can I do upgrades, caliber changes? How easy or difficult is these caliber changes? This is all scale 1 to 10, hunting, target shooting, wood use, in really tight quarters where you don't have like a big gun, in the woods where you don't have a lot of space. Sound report, how loud's the rifle? How much can you make it quiet? The trigger, the adaptability of the trigger, FPE adjustment, can you scale up the power up and down? Backyard friendly, lots of attributes with backyard friendly. Magazine size, how much do you have to, swap out the magazine? Price point, is it in your price point, or are you really kind of extending it? The value that it offers. Now, two guns might be the same, but some might have a little bit better, more bells and whistles. Portability, is it a truck gun? Is it something that you don't mind beating up? Is there style points? Hand pumping, are you going to have to hand pump? And again, as I mentioned, are you going to bring a bunch of tanks? Now, air tanks with you. So I've modeled out the scores here for the Panthera and the Delta Wolf. Here's the situation. The Panthera scored in at 136 points. The Delta Wolf at 174. And that was under the impression or the mindset that I was just going to shoot it as a generic rifle, which I think that makes sense because the Panthera is more specialized. Obviously, it's not going to rank as high. But if we take that same criteria and the things that matter and we switch things around and say, I just want to do bench rest. I just want to be on a bench and shoot it. Well, things change quite a bit. And the question is, the weight, the tanks. Am I going to need the weight in the tanks? No. Do I care about the length of the rifle? No, I don't. Shot count? Not really. It's because I'm going to have air tanks right next to it. I care about hopefully downrange accuracy. I care about shooting slugs. I care about the foot-pounds of energy because generally if you're going to shoot further, you need more energy, ballistic coefficient for your calibers, all that kind of stuff. So in taking that into consideration, the two same guns on the sheets, it looks like the Panther scores a 92 out of the things that matter, and then the Delta Wolf scores a 68. So it's a swap. It's a swap for the specialization. I know these are extreme examples, obviously common sense that you could probably just make without going through this list. But I think you guys see the method to the madness going forward is you got to break it down. There's just no way that Airguns of Arizona or anybody's going to be able to answer all these questions for you and kind of figure things out for you. But I hope this helps, guys. Instead of me trying to push a certain brand or a certain attitude, it's all about empowering you guys. Sometimes we look at the advertisement and you're distracted. There's that saying, sometimes you're distracted by distraction so much you don't even realize you're being distracted. And that's the thing. You go out on Utah Airguns or some site and then all of a sudden another ad pops up, or Airgun Nation, and you're like, oh, that looks really cool. What's this new gun? And all of a sudden you realize that doesn't even fit what I want to do. That doesn't fit the next air rifle I want to purchase. But you get trapped in that. And once you get trapped looking at it, then you forget where you were at and how you're comparing these two other guns, and you forget about the shot count or the mag count and everything else. So anyway, hoping this helps you guys out. Comments, questions below. Hit that subscribe button, and hopefully I'll see you next week.